Hi, welcome to the Lifestyle Herbalist, the podcast where holistic wellness meets everyday living. I'm your host, Dabney. I'm a registered dental hygienist, a clinical herbalist, and a certified health coach.
And I'm your co-host, Sabrina Cooper, a registered dental hygienist with a bachelor's in oral health promotion, a certified culinary nutritionist and herbalist, and a mindfulness and mindful eating coach. Together, we explore the intersection of holistic health, herbal wisdom, and joyful living. From plant-powered remedies to kitchen medicine, mindful moments, and conversations that feed the soul, we're here to help you feel vibrant, grounded, and inspired in your daily life. So steep a cup of something soothing, settle in, and let's grow well together one episode at a time, bringing you a healthy dose of happiness.
Hi, welcome back to the Lifestyle Herbalist. I'm Dabney, and today I'm going to talk to you about becoming a more informed participant and trying to go from a passive patient to one who understands what's actually going on in your health. How to ask better questions, reading labels, understanding blood sugar, minerals, and inflammation, and how these simple shifts can build confidence in your own wellness journey. For a long time, many of us were taught to hand our health over to someone else. We were encouraged to be compliant, to follow instructions, and to trust that if something was important, someone would surely tell us. But really, true healing begins when we shift from being a passive patient to a more informed participant. That doesn't mean rejecting medical care or becoming rigid or fearful. It means learning how to ask better questions and understanding that the signal's coming from your own body and what it means. Over the years, I've had patients who presented with oral health challenges, and I encourage them as their coach to find out the root of the problem. I see them for only 60 minutes twice a year. There is no possible way I'm going to be able to understand and know what's causing their particular problem. Sometimes patients just have a lot of gingivitis. Maybe they have a periodontal disease that's out of control. Maybe they have a lot of cavities that just keep coming up time after time, and we just haven't been able to find the root cause. So, patients, you live with yourself 24/7. No one knows you better than you know yourself. But that means you've got to ask yourself better questions and understand how your body is talking to you. Asking better questions is one of the most powerful tools you have. Instead of focusing only on the symptoms or lab numbers, it can be helpful to ask how the systems are connected. Questions like, what might be driving this pattern? How does stress, nutrition, or digestion influence this? And open the door to a deeper understanding. You don't need to know everything, but curiosity allows you to participate in your care rather than simply receiving it. One patient in particular comes to mind who has Lyme's disease. She has been through so much in the last probably 10 years that I have been treating or helping her and treating her as a hygiene patient. And she conveyed to me the last time she was in how frustrated she was that no one just gives her the answer. And I encouraged her to be a participant, not put her complete health into all of these specialists that she's been going to, because she's been getting all of these different information, different diagnoses, different treatment plans, and she's tried so many things and she's just frustrated. But I wonder if perhaps she just needs to, but if she were to ask a different question or how things relate, if maybe she would have a better understanding of what's going on. Another thing is learning to read food labels. It's another powerful step toward confidence. Many products are marked as healthy, supportive, or natural, and yet contain ingredients that quietly disturb our blood sugar, digestion, or inflammation. Sugar has many forms. There's industrial seed oils, there's artificial additives, and flavor enhancers that place additional stress on the body over time. Reading labels isn't about fear or perfection, it's really about awareness. The more familiar you are about what you're consuming, the easier it is for you to make choices that actually support your physiology. And I've been told that if you can't pronounce the word, maybe we shouldn't be putting it into our body. Our body holds on to these toxins. They store them in our cells because our body doesn't understand or know always what this thing is. And so sometimes it'll hold on to it thinking, well, I better hold on to this because I might need it later and I need to have it in case I need it. A practical way to rebuild trust in your choices, especially in the food environment, is to really understand those food labels and know that they're designed more for convenience and profit than nourishment. Many foods are marked with words like natural, clean, plant-based, or heart healthy, yet these terms aren't regulated in any meaningful way. They often say more about branding than about how the food will actually interact with your body. When you begin reading ingredient lists instead of front labels, you start to see the differences between food that supports physiology and food that quietly adds stress. And I've said before, food is a choice. We either feed health or we feed disease, but ultimately we get to make the choice. One of the first things to pay attention to is sugar. Not just obvious sugar, but the many forms it hides under. Ingredients like cane juice, rice syrup, maltodextrin, dextrose, agave, and fruit concentrates can all affect blood sugar. Even when a product doesn't taste particularly sweet, frequent blood sugar spikes followed by crashes place strain on the nervous system, and it drives inflammation, cravings, fatigue, and digestive discomfort. This doesn't mean sugar must be eliminated entirely, although I highly recommend that it is, but it does mean becoming aware of how it's showing up and in what form it is. What about these seed oils? Industrial seed oils are another common ingredient worth noticing. Oils like soybean, canola, corn, sunflower, safflower, and cottonseed are highly processed and they're prone to oxidation, especially when heated. Over time, these oils can contribute to inflammatory load and digestive irritation, particularly in people who are already stressed or depleted. Their presence doesn't mean the food is instantly harmful, but frequent exposure can add the body's overall burden. Some good oils are found more naturally in nuts and seeds, avocados, and eggs. Things like olive oil, sesame oil, and olive oil are all wonderful oils to consume, along with coconut oil. And artificial additives and flavor enhancers can also interfere with digestion and nervous system balance. Ingredients like artificial colors, preservatives, emulsifiers, and natural flavors are often included to improve shelf life or taste, but they can be irritating to the gut lining and confusing to the body's signaling systems. Many people notice bloating, headaches, or fatigue without realizing these ingredients are contributing. Learning to recognize them helps you make more informed choices, especially if digestion has been sensitive. It's also helpful to notice how long the ingredient list is, whether it reads like food or like chemistry. Whole, supportive foods tend to have short ingredient lists with names you recognize. The goal isn't to eat perfectly or to avoid anything processed, however, but to understand which foods your body tolerates well and which ones consistently leave you feeling depleted or inflamed. There are even some labels that have labels that are food products, which means they are so highly processed that they're not even considered a real food, that it's a food product. The other thing I've noticed recently is that there are labels that say bioengineered ingredients, which means these things were formed in a factory. And how is our body responding to these things really at the end of the day? Most importantly, reading labels really isn't about fear or control. It's about developing an awareness and choice. When you know what you're consuming, you're no longer relying on marketing claims or external authority. You're making decisions based on what your body and how your body responds. And over time, this builds confidence. You stop second-guessing yourself and start trusting your own feedback. Label literacy is one of the simplest ways to move from passive consumption to informed participation. It doesn't require advanced knowledge or strict rules, just curiosity, consistency, and a willingness to pay attention. That awareness alone can dramatically change how nourishing your food truly is. Understanding blood sugar is foundational, even if you've never been told that it applies to you. Blood sugar instability doesn't only show up as diabetes. It can also appear as fatigue, anxiety, irritability, cravings, sleep disruption, and energy crashes after meals. When blood sugar is supported through balanced meals, adequate protein, and mineral-rich foods, the nervous system often becomes more stable, and digestion improves naturally. But blood sugar interacts more than just energy. It directly affects the health of your mouth and your microbiome. When glucose spikes, and when they fluctuate wildly, it feeds the pathogenic bacteria in the mouth, and it contributes to inflammation, gingivitis, and even accelerated tooth decay. Similarly, blood sugar swings influence the gut microbiome. It promotes imbalances that lead to bloating, dysbiosis, and impaired nutrient absorption. In essence, when blood sugar is unstable, both the mouth and the gut are under stress. And this amplifies cravings, digestive discomfort, and inflammatory signaling throughout the body. Supporting steady blood sugar doesn't just improve energy, it creates an environment where your oral and gut microbiome can thrive. What you want is laying the groundwork for more resilient digestion, immunity, and overall health. Minerals also play a quiet but essential role in this process. They help regulate blood sugar, manage inflammation, and support enzyme function and buffer stress. When mineral reserves are low, the body becomes less reactive, less resilient, and more sensitive to foods and stressors. This is why nourishment isn't just about calories or macros. It's about what the body can actually use. Inflammation is often discussed as something to fight or eliminate, but it's more helpful to understand it has a purpose. Chronic inflammation is frequently fueled by unstable blood sugar, poor digestion, mineral depletion, and ongoing stress. When these foundational systems are supported, inflammation often quiets on its own without aggressive interventions. Small, consistent shifts are what builds confidence over time. Eat regularly, choose foods that feel grounding rather than stimulating. Paying attention to how you feel after meals and allow curiosity to guide your choices can help you change your relationship with health entirely. You don't need to overhaul everything at once. Confidence grows when you see your body respond to care. Becoming an informed participant doesn't mean doing it alone. It means learning enough to advocate for yourself, understand your options, and trust your body's feedback. When you step into that role, health stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling like something you can actively engage with. One choice at a time. As we wrap up today's episode, the key takeaway is this: your body is communicating with you through digestion, energy, cravings, and even your oral health. Blood sugar, minerals, stress, and how well you digest your food all work together to influence not only your gut, but your whole body, including your mouth and microbiome. Small, consistent shifts, like reading labels, choosing balanced meals, and paying attention to your body's signals, can build confidence, restore rhythm, and help you feel more empowered in your health. Healing isn't about perfection or restriction, it's about an awareness, curiosity, and supporting the body so it can do what it was designed to do. If you found this episode helpful, consider sharing it with someone you know who might also be struggling with energy, digestion, or food frustration. Sometimes the smallest nudge of information can change the way someone thinks about their health. And sharing this episode could be the first step toward helping them feel seen, supported, and in control of their own nourishment. Thanks for listening.